Hello everyone! The Burning Legion has been defeated, but victory for Azeroth came at a great price. Many heroes have fallen, including Anduin's father Varian, and the now king, he finds himself with no real time to mourn. This is Warcraft after all, and things they happen fast. Just before the Dark Titan Sargeras was imprisoned, he managed to stab the world and inflict a massive wound. Azerite, the lifeblood of the Titan that slumbers deep within. It pops up across its surface. Great power, which can be used to heal and defend. The visions that come to Anduin as he holds the Azerite. Or you could use it to destroy and conquer, which interests Warchief Sylvanas Windrunner way more.
This will change everything.
War is brewing, but just before the storm, there was a small moment of peace. A time to reflect and plan in case the worst might happen. Anduin wanted Gen Greymane to look after his kingdom while he was gone, or in case something might happen to him. Gen was honored, of course, and would do everything in his power to govern their people with care and diligence. But he wasn't a young pup either. What about continuing the Wrynn bloodline? Had Anduin ever considered someone to become his queen? Over his lifetime, Anduin had glanced here and there, during his time with the dwarves, during his time with the Draenei. Some also see a future for him together with Varian, or perhaps Gen's daughter Tess would make a good match. For the moment though, it's not something that Anduin wants to lock down, since he hasn't met anyone yet that he felt that way about. There is still time, he's only 18 after all. But do remember that they brought up the subject of a Wrynn bloodline to begin with, as we'll get back to that in just a moment. Next to discussing future romance, this small moment of peace, it was also used for an out-of-this-world plan that only someone like Anduin could have faith in. Amongst the living, there are those who have lost loved ones in the past, but seeing how the Forsaken are a thing, some of those loved ones are not completely gone. They become part of a different family, and what if they could reunite them? What if they could plant a small seed of peace again between the Alliance and the Horde? And so, communications were sent out. People were screened and selected. Despite all odds, the meeting that was set up, it actually went rather well. So good in fact, that the reunited families, they didn't want the day to end. Amongst the people that attended the meeting, there was also Kalia Menethil, sister to Arthas Menethil. Kalia had promised that she had no intention of reclaiming Lordaeron. She was just Kalia now, and her home had been lost many years ago. She was just there to oversee and help out. Yet when the Forsaken recognized her, asked her to stand with them, to help them keep this day going, and abandon Sylvanas for the Alliance, she decided to stand with them, urging them to run back to their keep and abandon the Dark Lady. Which of course did not sit well with Sylvanas. Some of the Forsaken, they kept running towards the Alliance, while the others desperately tried to get home. They had no intention of betraying the Dark Lady. She was their ruler. Their queen, despite them running home, shut down all of them. Sylvanas did not know if those that came back to her did so out of fear. She couldn't take the risk. That sentiment for a life long gone, for that hope to grow. It's an infection, ready to spread, and she had to cut it out. She also knew that Kalia rising up wasn't Anduin's doing. The boy king wasn't that stupid. All of this was on the head of that Kalia girl, and she was going to pay. The Dark Lady herself fired the arrow that took Kalia's life, despite Anduin rushing the field and trying to save her. But the war chief was smart enough not to start a war quite yet. She'd only shut down her own people, her own Forsaken, and Kalia, who wasn't part of the Alliance. Neither side had started a war that day. However, this would not be the end of Kalia's story quite yet. Anduin, together with Alonce's fall and the Naru Sara, they brought her back. Not a full-blown resurrection, like back with his father. Not as a Forsaken either, but something a little bit different. All the same, the meeting was an absolute disaster. It's destroyed the prospect of working together with the Horde to heal the world. Azerite will continue to threaten the balance of power. I will never, ever stop hoping for peace, Anduin said. His voice trembled with leashed emotion. I've seen too much good in too many people to paint them all as evil and worthy of slaughter, and I will also never stop believing that people can change. But I realize now that I've been like a farmer, expected to harvest crops from a poisoned field. It's simply not possible. Greymane tensed. The boy was leading to something. People can change, Anduin repeated, but some people will never desire to do so. and Sylvanas Windrunner is one of those. He took a deep breath. Sorrow and grim resolve made him look older. Gen had seen similar expressions on the faces of those who'd been tasked with a heartbreaking duty. When the boy spoke, Gen was glad of the words, but saddened by his need to say them. I believe, said Anduin Wrynn, that Sylvanas Windrunner is well and truly lost. If only the boy king knew what was to come, as Sylvanas was just getting started. Able to convince Saurfang and the rest of the hordes, they marched into Night Elven territory, with the plan to take out the threat of the Alliance. What followed was a genocide, the burning of Teldrassil, and in response, the Alliance marched upon Lordaeron. We even see Anduin right there on the battlefield, which was quite surprising at the time, considering that he was never great with wielding a sword. Now he's still nowhere near the level that his father was at, but the death of Varian, it was certainly a turning point, and since then he's taking his training much more serious. Still, Saurfang could have taken him out, but he didn't, hoping that the boy king would be able to stand up against the darkness that had taken hold of his beloved hordes. The burning of Teldrassil was not part of the original plan they had, and like the days with Garrosh's Hellscream, some amongst the hordes, they're not down with the path that the warchief is taking. The siege right here, despite Sylvanas having backup plan after backup plan, it is somewhat won by the Alliance.
You've won nothing.
She is a sore loser though, and makes it so that if she can't have Lordaeron, then nobody will. With that, Battle for Azeroth kicks off properly, and while the returned speaker, Magni Bronzebeard, urges the world to focus on the wounds, heal her before there's no longer a world to fight over, others, they focus on the enemy in front of them. Alliance versus Horde, with the Horde recruiting the Zandalari to their side, and the Alliance, they earn the trust of the Kultirans once again. And it's in Kultiras where Anduin meets a special someone.
It is an honor to meet you, King Wrynn. I am Talia. Talia Fordragon.
Fordragon?
Daughter of Bolvar, fostered under our protection since the Third War.
Talia, please rise. The honor is mine.
Did you know my father?
High Lord Bolvar was a great man, a true hero to the Alliance, and to me. I remember now. He used to write you letters. He had a nickname for you.
My shining star. The letters stopped coming. I have so many questions.
Talia, when time permits, you must come to Stormwind as my guest. I have many stories to share about your father.
Curious how in the novel prior to the expansion, they were talking about the Wrynn lineage, and now they present the previously unknown daughter of Bolvar. However, there hasn't been a whole lot of time to get romance going, not in the midst of a faction war. Anduin's ability to see beyond race and faction, it allows him to work together with those that others might consider their enemies. The world had to relearn the lesson that they're stronger when working together, helped by the rise of Queen Azora and the old god N'Zoth. These threats, it forced them to put the faction war to the side for a bit, focus on this immediate danger, and we even saw the return of Anduin's long-lost friends.
Speaker Magni is coming, along with a new advisor. He claims to have information for us.
By the light, a new advisor. Rathian.
Anduin, it's been so long.
Oh, dragons.
I suppose I deserved that.
Oh, you deserve more than that. My father is dead because of you!
And my father is dead because of the old gods.
Lad, he's come to help us.
He blames Rathian for the death of his father, since it was Rathian that betrayed their friendship, set Garrosh free, which in turn led to alternate Gul'dan unleashing the Legion upon the world. Not Rathian's finest moment, he must admit. But now he's back, working together with heroes of the world to successfully stop the threat of N'Zoth. Meanwhile, there's Saurfang and Anduin secretly working together, Varrock had not taken his life on the battlefield when he could have done, and neither did Anduin take his. Together, they might stand a chance at toppling Sylvanas. So Saurfang is released from prison, gathers some allies, and the world eventually made ready for another siege of Orgrimmar. That ultimately wouldn't come to pass, with High Overlord Varrock Saurfang challenging their war chief the Makora, a one-on-one duel for the fate of his beloved hordes.
I set you on this path.
And we knew where it could lead. Walk with me the rest of the way. Let it be finished.
He didn't stand much of a chance, not even with Anduin giving him Charlemagne for a bit. The Banshee Queen has gotten quite a power boost from already signing up to the Jailer's Covenant. Her powers were overwhelming, capable of one-shotting a veteran like himself. And yet, he still earned victory that day by outing her true feelings, her true intentions towards the rest of the hordes.
The Horde is nothing!
Feeling like she no longer has need of them, she then flies off into the next expansion, leaving the Alliance and the Horde to pick up the pieces.
The armistice is signed. At long last, the Fourth War is over.
Not while the Black Moon still cries out for vengeance. Not until the Horde has answered for its treachery.
Further bloodshed will not bring back the fallen. We must renew our hope and forge a future for those who survived.
And when the next war chief musters an army, will hope save you if it is Stormwind that burns?
I know it's difficult to trust, but there are signs of change within the Horde. In place of a war chief, there is now a council, led by Bane, Thrall, and the others. I believe they can—
Your faith is naive, Lion's son. I will sign no treaty unless it is written in the Banshee's blood!
There is truth in her words, Anduin. Peace may be on the table today, but soon enough, the Horde will sound their drums and march for war. When that day comes, no scrap of parchment will hold them back.
The path to peace will not be easy, and not all will choose to walk it. But this is the only way to build a better future. I believe it will work, Ken. It has to.
Once again, they try to go towards some kind of peace. Something that seems to be near impossible within the world of Warcraft. Tron and the Night Elves are not just suddenly going to forgive or forget all that was done to them. That would just be silly storytelling. We already saw them taking decisive action despite Anduin's wishes throughout the expansion. And they will go on fixated on claiming the head of Sylvanas. Not the only ones either. It seems like the whole world wanted a piece of the Banshee Queen. And the pressure was on to bring her to justice. Pressure upon the boy king's shoulders, added to what he's already gone through. Sometimes he felt like a coin satchel, and every worry, every problem, every mistake, every crisis, it was another fat, heavy coin falling into that bag. It got heavier and heavier, but usually it was manageable. After a while, however, the fabric started to strain. Some of the coins had to go, or the satchel would rip, the bottom falling out, the coins spilling everywhere. Every breath he drew in, every moment that passed, another coin came. Sylvanas evading them, Alliance soldiers washing up on shore, Illyria and Trevelyan going to extremes while trying to capture her sister, Jaina questioning his decisions, Tyrande, Malfurion and the Night Elves breaking contact and hanging out at Nordrassil, the burning of Teldrassil, the Forsaken and their disasters meeting in the Highlands. Sometimes it all becomes a bit much, and he feels the need to be a nameless face in the tavern, if only for a few hours, to escape his duties and the pressures that haunted him. Disguised as Jarek, he would steal those moments, at one point being discovered by Jaina, but Auntie Jaina couldn't really blame him. If this is something that he needed to do, then by all means, enjoy those moments. Yet despite his little ritual, the pressure was definitely getting to him. Soon enough, he had other things to add to his little coin satchel, as Sylvanas made her move, ripped the veil between this world and the next, sending out her forces to kidnap Thrall, Bane, Jaina, Anduin, and Tyrande. The last of them was too powerful to take with, but the Boy King was dragged off into the Shadowlands. With the aid of the now awakened Bolvar 4 dragon, we then went after them, into the jaws of hell or the Maw itself. Turns out that the Banshee Queen is an ally to a being called Soval the Jailer. He really wants to escape from the Maw and pursue his plans. But to do so, he needed power, souls that the Banshee Queen has sent his way, but also a specific agent, someone that he could use to gather some sigils for him, sigils that are in the possession of his fellow Eternal Ones. As we tried our first rescue mission, tried to get our leaders out of there, we soon found out that the Waystone out of the Maw, it only reacted to us. We were the only ones capable of making an escape. Meaning that Anduin and the rest of them, they had to stay behind, while the jailer found exactly what he'd been looking for.
The light is with me, even here. Go, champion! Go! You have failed.
No. I have precisely what I need.
We weren't just going to give up on him, of course. So while we partied in the Shadowlands, helped out where we could, joined our covenants and gathered our strength, we also ventured into the jailer's domain, the Tower of Torghast, and we managed to liberate Bane, Jaina and Thrall. The prince, however, his location within the ever-shifting tower, it proved to be a bit more difficult to decipher, as he was exactly what the jailer had been looking for. While Soval just wanted to enforce the job upon him, immediately make him serve, Sylvanas convinced him that she could make him see things from their point of view, convince him to join their side willingly, which would make him a far stronger ally.
I do hope you've settled in. The accommodations are a bit sparse, I know.
Where are the others? Are they safe?
Safe? No. I wouldn't say any of them are safe.
I am so tired of your games.
As you wish. No more secrets. No more lies. You are a weapon we will use to achieve our ends.
I will not become an instrument of death.
So you favor life? Is that it? That momentary flicker. Every cruel second spent delaying the inevitable in an endless war that you, like every Wrynn before you, will not survive. You know the truth. Nothing is fair. Not life, not death. So we're going to tear it all down.
And what purpose would that serve? Everyone suffers, Sylvanas. But destroying everything will not take away the pain.
Oh, you misunderstand. We're breaking a system that has always been flawed, and remaking it into one that is just.
Do you expect me to believe that all this time, you've been fighting for justice?
How can I convince you? From our first breath to our last, every decision is made for us. Then, the afterlife decides what eternity we must endure. We can't even choose who we couldn't control anything. But through the jailer, control of our fate will at last be possible.
Look around you! At what and who you've joined.
What makes you believe you're not just a weapon to achieve his ends?
You have a choice to consider. Join us willingly, or be made to serve.
I thought you believed in free will, Sylvanas.
We've never had free will, little lion. But that is about to change.
There she is again. You know, these endless lectures of yours
have failed to convince you. Regardless, the conversation is over. One way or another, we will have you. So I will offer this one last time. Join our cause, or be made to serve.
What kind of choice is that? Why even give me? It's the choice you never had. Despite all your grand designs, there's still some shred of your mortality haunting you. As if the Banshee Queen hasn't entirely eclipsed the Ranger General.
Don't.
Now I understand why you brought me here. Why you've tried so hard to persuade me. Because if you can get me to let go of hope, you finally can too.
Enough! Submit! You are only making this harder on yourself.
Not harder on me. Right now, you hold all the power. How will you use it?
I've not come this far to falter now.
Then why do you hesitate? Make your choice, Sylvanas Windrunner.
And so she did, unable to convince Anduin of seeing it their way. Whatever true plans they might have, as from the conversation shown to us, it's not 100% clear what Sylvanas and the jailer actually want to accomplish. Either way, Sylvanas has made her choice, forced Anduin to serve with the now converted Charlemagne. It's become a runeblade called Kingsmorn, and so, like Arthas once did to her, she has made him a slave to the jailer. His will is dominated as they put their plan into action. Being who he is, it allows him easy access into Bastion, domain of the Archon and one of the sigils. Zovaal reveals himself controlling the king as he stabs her, but just for a moment, the real Anduin pops up to the surface. Some have wondered if this was Zovaal adding a bit of extra torture, but they have explained that this action was so against Anduin's being that just momentarily Zovaal lost control, and the boy king, he witnessed the full gravity of it. Soon enough, control is retaken, and Anduin returns with the sigil. Next up, they invade Ardenweald, home to the Winter Queen, where we do our best to stop them, but again, Anduin is successful. Then finally, there's the sigil of the Primus. This Eternal One was clever enough to hide it away in Corvia with really special magics that the jailer would never be able to break. Unfortunately, we're dumb enough to take the sigil right into the jailer's lair, where he and Anduin show up to claim it. Here we see that Anduin's light-given powers, they're now twisted in a much darker form. And again, they overpower us, they claim what they need. Zovaal's arrogance does not immediately end us though, so there's still a chance for us to fight back. We bring purpose to our covenants, fix their problems, reforce the sigils. We gather our strength to venture into the lair of the beast itself. Confront Sylvanas and Zovaal at the top of Torghast.
The battle is almost upon us. I will deal with the invading forces atop Torghast. When we reach Oribos, you will defend Zovaal while he completes the ritual.
You mean he will compel me to defend him? Each time he dominates my will, I feel myself slipping further away. Is this what you felt when Arthas raised you, Sylvanas? Hollow, empty. Everything you once were, consumed by darkness.
Yes, young lion. But in the end, The sacrifices we've made will have been worth it. Once the cycle of life and death has been broken and remade, we will...
By that time, I'll have been lost. And so will you. I only hope my friends will remember me as I was. Not what you made me to be.
With Anduin keeping our heroes busy, and Sylvanas putting up quite the fight, Zovaal is able to finish his ritual, reclaim his lost powers from the Arbiter, and finally fulfill his plan.
The way is open, Zovaal! We already have what we need!
Too long I endured the Maker's flawed design. I will forge a new reality, where all shall serve.
I will never serve.
Still chained by mortality. You did help restore something stolen from me. Allow me to repay you in kind.
Cannot let him reach me.
Despite all their conversations, all the dreams she had for the future, King Anduin Wrynn was proven right. A bit too late for him, but the Dark Lady does step away from the jailer, and in turn she gets a piece of her soul returned. Anduin is now off with Zovaal to wherever they might have gone. And that's where her story ends for the moment. We have been working on our own way of following Zovaal, just in case that we were unable to stop him. There's also mention of the mysterious First Ones, breaking down a system designed or forged by their hands, but that's all still story to be revealed. But of course, the question does become, what's going to happen to Anduin? The similarities with Arthas, they keep rolling on, with the big difference being that Anduin never chose the dark side willingly. His fate, his now domination, it was placed upon him by force, so I don't think that there's anyone out there that will blame him for the things that he's done. And yet, there's also no way that he's going to come out of this unchanged. That is to say, if he even is going to come out of this. For all we know, they'll make him a raid boss in the next patch, a hurdle that will be forced to take out for the good of the universe. At the same time, there are potential threats that are being built up to reverse the damage done. So far, we've been dealing with a lot of the death side in the Shadowlands, but there's also the life side to this balance. This could be linked to the reveal of the goddess Elune, the cycle of rebirth that we witnessed in Ardenweald. There is the possibility there to bring him back to how he used to be, at least in physical form. Then there's also a really interesting side story that goes on with the spirit of Vol'jin, the former war chief that was manipulated in giving the mantle to Sylvanas. He is merged with the Loa Rezan, the Loa of Kings. Currently, he's resting in his pod to transform into something that not even the Winter Queen is sure about. Being part of the Loa of Kings now, it could have him play a role in saving King Anduin Wrynn. Not to mention that there's no sign of either Queen Tiffin or his father Varian. Some had taken Varian's death, the fell explosion at the hand of Alternate Gul'dan, as that was a way of destroying his soul, but that's not necessarily the case. For example, we've seen the wild god Ashermain that also died in a massive fell explosion, and they made it into the Shadowlands just fine. If Blizzard really wanted to, they could have Varian, Tiffin and Vol'jin do a bit of a team up in order to try and save Anduin, or just have Tiffin show up, to be honest. She played such a massive role in Anduin's life. The boy king doesn't really have memories of her, only images that he formed out of stories about his mother. How cool would that moment be where he actually comes face to face with her? But who knows what the future's going to bring. And say that Anduin does come back, to what kind of Azeroth will he return, as despite his wishes, Gen is currently not leading the kingdom. Rather, it's Turelion that sits on the throne. The same goes for us, to be honest. The events on Azeroth, while we are partying in the Shadowlands, they've not really been described. So who knows what's going on there? That future is still very much unwritten, and time is going to tell. Safe to say, Anduin Wrynn has gone through quite a lot already. Where some might see a mewling pacifist, others see a keen diplomat with a vision of the future beyond just warring and crafting. He's always been able to look beyond race and faction, bringing people together where others would call him crazy. Well, personally, I find him a little bit too perfect at times, even having his bones tell him when he's on the wrong path. There's still a lot of time and a lot of story left to tell. Say that he does come through all of this. What kind of Anduin is going to return? I'm really curious to find out what the next chapter is going to be. But for now, you're up to speed on the story of Anduin Wrynn. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And until next time, see ya!